Welcome back, everyone. Today we want to talk about the Polestar 3. We have some other Polestar news to touch on as well. So this is actually going to be quite exciting. I haven't been making a lot of Polestar videos as of late, but that's really because there hasn't been a lot of news around Polestar. I'm still a fan. I still absolutely love this company. And I still get excited like a 5-year-old kid whenever I see a Polestar car on the roads. I am proud of how far we've came as a brand, as a fan base. Polestar is doing well. And I have a feeling that next year we're going to do extraordinarily well. So let's get into the news. The Polestar 3 SUV long range with a single rear motor goes up to 435 miles on a single charge, more than Polestar thought. Polestar, Volvo former performance arm, is like many new EV makers struggling with sales and losses, with Volvo exiting Polestar and sales a long way short of what they hoped and expected. Well, when they say Volvo exiting Polestar, what they meant is that Volvo sold off a large percentage of Polestar shares and ownership because it was a joint ownership with Polestar and Geely. The problem is, if Volvo continued to hold a majority stake in Polestar, or a large amount of shares that they did hold, the problem is it doesn't attract enough external investors. Who was going to sell? It was either Geely or Polestar. Now Geely owns Polestar and Volvo, so it only makes sense for Volvo to sell some of their Polestar shares. And that's what happened. It was a smart business decision. And almost immediately after that, there was a huge announcement that Polestar acquired over 950 million US dollars in external funding. That's what happens when investors realize that the market is open, when your company is open for further investment. The agreement between Geely, Polestar, Volvo, it was a little bit too much control for external investors. They don't want to get involved in that because they're not going to have a voice in the company, because basically all of the ownership falls in Geely's hands. In order to open up that, to be more transparent for further investment, you have to compromise. That's what it was. So, for Geely, deep pockets are available to sustain the project for fruition, and in recent months, sales do look to be improving in the UK. Indeed, I am seeing Polestar 3s and Polestar 4s, rarely, but I'm seeing them in the UK. So it doesn't help that the residential value of Polestar is pretty poor, something that hasn't confined Polestar by any stretch. So with pre-owned Polestar 2s, or roughly around 2 years old cars, they're now available for less than £20,000 in the UK. And that's less than half the price of a current new Polestar car. So that's very interesting. Now, this is no surprise. When I was shopping for a car back in 2023, last year in August, I was finding I was finding Tesla Model 3s for around £21,000, £22,000, £19,000. Yeah, so don't be surprised that this is happening to Polestar. It's happening to every EV brand in every car category. That's around 40 to 50,000, new, brand new. After a few years on the market, the price dropped down a lot. So secondhand pre-owned EV vehicles are becoming more affordable for the general public, and that is actually a good thing. This is going to help with the transition into the EV era because, the new cars are just so, expensive. The best alternative is to buy a secondhand unit, and honestly, them being affordable is very good for our global, for our globe, for our Earth. It's very good. So Polestar 2 is now joined by the Polestar 3 and 4, and Polestar is trying to boost sales of the Polestar 3. Polestar takes on the Volvo EX90 with a long-range rear-wheel model revealed back in June. Its arrival meant that the starting point for the Polestar 3 dropped to £69,000, but the £6,000 saving on the dual motor version meant just 295 brake horsepower on top instead of 483 brake horsepower from the all-wheel drive model. That's a Polestar 3. And 0 to 62 in 7.8 seconds. From the all-wheel drive model, that's 5 seconds 0 to 62. Although with the same 111 kilowatt battery, Polestar reckons its WLTP range at approximately 403 miles. Now, Polestar has declared that the Polestar 3 long-range single motor has actually accomplished an official WLTP range of 438 miles, a class-leading result, although the real-world range will probably be a fair chunk less, probably a little bit less. But that's the best that they can get out of that vehicle so far. With normal human driving, you're looking at 350, 360, in my opinion. And it really depends on how the individual drive the car. People drive differently. Some people can drive more efficiently, some people drive less efficiently. It all depends on the individual a lot of the times. Sometimes a lot of these numbers, it's really giving you a number based on a lot of cruise control and a lot of like, long drives, not necessarily city drive, because city drive is gonna it's gonna spend a lot of that really quickly. Now, Polestar near an inflection point as deliveries ramp up, says Bank of America. Polestar is a pure electric vehicle manufacturer on the cusp of an inflection point. Polestar offers pure play exposure to growing EV markets. It's nearing an inflection point in sales volume and is improving its earning profile, they said in a research note. BOFA highlighted increase in production of Polestar higher margin SUV models, that is the Polestar 3 and Polestar 4, as key drivers of projected growth. Deliveries are expected to rise from approximately 50,000 units in 2023 to 150,000 units by 2030. That would be incredible for Polestar, and obviously that's only just the beginning. So I just want people to know it's 2024 now, so that's 6 years away. So we've got a long time to wait, and that's being realistic for Polestar, if we're being completely honest. Because with the new leadership taking place, with a lot of cost cutting going on, we can clearly see that Polestar will be moving forward a lot slower than we could ever anticipate, unfortunately. So for the Polestar company to do really well, it's going to take a lot longer than you could ever expect. I'm talking like 10 years plus. Yeah, 5 years if we're lucky, 7.5 years if we're optimistic. But 10 years is ideal for this company to do as well as we wanted to do. I'm talking like 250,000 models on a yearly basis. It's going to take a while because if you look at everything, the way Geely and Volvo is running the Polestar company, it's almost as if they don't want it to be too independent because they're unsure if it can do well on its own yet. And they would be right in that assumption. But this company is still being greatly underestimated. But when a company like this lacks funding, they're running on thin margins. And I'm looking forward to see what the new CEO is able to do with the minimum funding that is being provided. So the bank estimated that an additional upside of 40% if EV demands accelerate or Polestar new active sales model, leveraging dealer network, proves effective. Despite these positives, the automaker faced risk related to its Chinese ownership and potential changes to the U.S. trade and subsidy policy when President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The path to positive free cash flow is projected to remain challenging, with sustainability not expected until 2029 or 2030. So the forecast that Polestar will need an additional 3 to 4 billion capital in funding to achieve self-funding. Now, to be honest, for Polestar, I'm surprised it's not more. I'm surprised it's not 5 to 8 or 5 to 7 billion in funding to really accomplish self-sufficiency. 3 to 4 billion is actually very reasonable for this company. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? Let's look at it just for a minute. We've looked at it before, but I want to look at it again. So let's just look back at Polestar's revenue. This is the company's market cap, the market cap website. Let's look at the revenue once again for Polestar. So what do we have here, right? We've got 2024. We've got 2023, we've got 2022. 2022 is perhaps their best year. No, I think it was their best year. Over 2 billion in revenue. That's not profit. That's just revenue from sales of vehicles. That's what they made in 1 year. Now in 2023, a little bit less, 1.86 billion. And in 2024 so far, it's 1.65 billion. So a company that's able to make 2 billion in 1 year. I can't remember how much they delivered in 2022, but it's probably less than 50,000. Last year they delivered around 50,000 in 2023. Okay, so interesting, just to confirm, this was in deliveries in 2022 global volume target. This is very interesting. Access denied. I don't know why. Okay, that's interesting. So anyway, the Swedish electric performance car brand delivered 21,000 vehicles in the fourth quarter of 2022. In the fourth quarter, wow, that was just 1 quarter. Bringing the estimated full-year global volumes to 51,000. Okay, that was in, and they posted that in January 2023. So that was for the year of 2022. And that was incredible. So that's their most successful year so far, I believe. They or did they deliver 54,000 last year? I can't remember exactly. I've been out of it for a while. But nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is that for a company that's able to make in revenue at least 2 billion, with only just over 50,000 vehicles, if they only need around 4 to 5 billion in additional funding to become fully self-sufficient, it seems obvious what investors should do. Give them the money that they need. Because there is no doubt that this company will do very well long term. I'm talking like 10 years from now. For the next 5 years, it will be a struggle because they're just really trying to get these vehicles out. You know, the Polestar 5 is next, the Polestar 6, and then eventually perhaps a Polestar 7. But, you know, that's the real big goal is let's get these vehicles out and let's get them out in a timely fashion because time is of the element. So if they can accomplish that, you would think it'll be rather simple and straightforward for investors. And when I say investors, I'm talking about Geely and Volvo to say, listen, Polestar, okay, all you need is 4 to 5 million, 4 to 5 billion. Okay, we're gonna manage you very well to make sure that you put that money to good use. But okay, here's your 5 billion. You would think it would be that easy. Okay, even better. What about 10 billion? Five from Geely and another five from Volvo. There was no doubt that they would make their money back 10 to 15, possibly 20 years. You know, these are companies that are looking very much long term. So it shouldn't be a problem to invest in a company that you believe in, a company that you created, and to give them more than enough money. I'm not just saying give them 10 billion and that be it. No, 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 no. Do it in stages, maybe on a yearly basis. Give them a yearly allowance to become self-sufficient. You know, they're still a children, they're still child. So, you know, they need time to develop. So treat them as such. But the way Polestar has been handled, I don't think that they're being managed by Geely and Volvo the best way in terms of funding. And we've seen that mostly because Polestar has had to seek external funding. And I would have preferred it if Geely and Volvo were able to provide them with the funding they need. And don't get me wrong, Geely and Volvo has already committed and made a lot of funding and investment into Polestar already, billions. One would argue with the sales of the stock that Volvo made recently, I think this was last year or early this year, bringing their ownership to 18%. Volvo lost money on that investment. There's no doubt about that. But long term, we're thinking 10 to 15 years. They will make their money back, no doubt. Listen, we're going to end this video here. Just want to hear your thoughts on what do you think about, Polestar just being underestimated by the market, because we know long term this company will do extraordinarily well. But it's a question of, can you wait? Do you have the patience to wait 10 to 15 years? If you don't, you're in the wrong game. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.